good, YouTube? This is Just Devon back with a quick update. Right now, you might see me, I'm in my uniform where I work at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, where I'm a building engineer responsible for the life safety support systems, the air conditioning, the boiler operations, the chiller plants, and so forth and so on. So excuse me as I'm not dressed, but this year I wanted to do a little something different. I'm so used to being behind the camera, not showing, me as a person, not giving you guys the opportunity to get the understanding of, my personality, who I am as a man, as a person. So that's the reason why I decided to step outside of behind the screen. I don't like being in the forefront, but then I said to myself, if I plan on being a successful producer, that comes along with the territory. So with that being said, hopefully you'll get the opportunity to see a little more of these type of videos. I just wanted to give you guys a quick rundown as far as, what kind of setup that I have. A lot of people will hit me up and will be like, yo, what type of equipment do you use, etc., etc. I'm a firm believer in, equipment in a sense. It matters and it doesn't matter. You should be able to utilize what it is that you have, as long as you know the characteristics, what type of sound that you're trying to develop. That goes a long way as far as the type of compressors that you want to use, whether you want to use a linear phase EQ or a parametric EQ. I too did not understand these terms, and YouTube became my best friend. But around Christmas time, I picked this up. I treated myself to this. One of my favorite producers, Just Blaze, used an MPC. I've never had one, never owned one. The vintage, and quite frankly, they're no longer in development. But this piece is a good addition to my arsenal, as I was usually using Machine, but I was using the software based, and so like I would pitch the sound, and then it would speed up, and then I would have to know the tempo that I wanted to automatically adjust it to, and I just didn't like the algorithm that that Logic Pro X had. So I decided to spend a couple dollars on myself, treat myself to something, and I must say this is probably one of the best decisions that I've made as I'm now hands-on with the pads. Sampling is crazy. My workflow has increased tremendously. I've always had this another piece by AKAI, the MPK 249. I really only use it for its MIDI functions. Time to time I used it for, I used the pads for, programming drums, so forth and so on. I never really utilized the knobs and parameters, but Logic does have a function where, you can learn the parameters and you can adjust and make, your adjustments on the fly. So maybe sometime in the future, now that I have this piece of hardware, I'll become more hands-on. For a long time now, I haven't had any type of acoustic treatment. What I did was, my wife had bought me a few panels, and rather than using this adhesive spray, I didn't want to damage the walls, because although this is my home and I own it, but eventually maybe one day I may decide to sell it. So rather than damaging the walls and having to go back and paint everything all over again, I just decided to use from Walmart these T-pins. So I pretty much just used the leveled everything out, and then utilized the T-pins. Like in some areas you can see where the actual pin is, and then in others you can't really see. It's not that big of a deal to me whether I see the pins or not, but already I've already noticed a tremendous difference in my sound. I barely listen to music throughout the monitors. I kind of like just had them. I was always using these Senheiser HD 25s, which is what I use along with my Apogee Duet 2. That's primarily, I like hearing my mix. That way I can hear the clarity of it. I can hear, you know, the low ends. And one thing you always want to do is you want to get in the habit of mixing at a low volume. Because if you mix at a low volume, you don't want to drain your ears to the sound, because, you know, eventually you'll get used to it. So if you learn to mix at a low level, you know, it'll just come out that much better. Also, another thing that I just now added was, well, I got this as a Christmas gift. This was another Christmas gift from my wife, was a monitor. This is something that I always wanted, to have like an extended version. And it's like a curved monitor, so I didn't want to mount it on the wall. And I also knew that I wanted to sound treat and spot treat the walls behind me. So I decided not to, you know, mount it on the wall, just keep it on the desktop. And, you know, I like it. You know, being from Philly, you know, my wife, she bought me this, you know, the skylight of the city. And rather than using it as a, you know, a decorative piece, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the back of it out. I'll take the back of it out. I'll strip all of this. I'll get rid of that. And what I'll do is I was watching a video on YouTube, and the guy was saying, like, you know, you could use insulation, and he tested it with a few other things, and sounds like old towels are like the best things to use. So what I'll do is I'll gut that back out. I'll line this up with a bunch of old towels, and then I'll reseal it with a fabric, some sort of fabric, and I'll probably mount that right there on the wall. And, you know, being in the basement, you know, my laundry room is right here, so it's hardly any light down here. So I decided to just, you know, she bought me a lamp, and, you know, rather than just having like a warm white, or, you know, like a cool white light, you know, I decided to just put a lamp in here that was, you know, that kind of artificial sound, artificial light, sunlight rather, my fault. So hopefully things will come together, and as things progress, I'll add more hardware. You know, I'll get some sound diffusers. I want to make that. It's a YouTube tutorial I watched where a lot of the, you know, DIY stuff. I like doing things myself. You see that this laptop, you know, is being held on. Rather than buying, you know, a laptop holder, I decided, hey, I was watching a Serato sample video, and the guy had one, and I was like, hey, you know what? Let me just go ahead and make one. I think it gives it a different aesthetic, gives it a different look, you know, gives a little bit of character. Then I decided to spray paint it yellow. You know, from me touching it, you know, I didn't treat this. So what I should have done was I should have used something like that would have removed a lot of the oil off of it before spray painting it. But since I did this, I still have some paint left. I'll probably sand it, remove a little more of the surface off, and continue to maybe spray paint it, and this time give it some time to dry. I gave it hardly any time to dry. When I was touching it, it was still sticky. So this is about time to wrap this video up. I got a shelf that I gotta assemble. You know, the missus, she bought me, you know, a trash can and, you know, a plant and all of this other stuff. I'm like, I don't need a plant. I don't, you know, but hey, you know, this is her home just as well. She wants to be able to walk down here and see certain things, and, you know, I can respect that. This is another thing, another piece that my wife bought me, the chair that I had. You know, it was a poor chair. I really wasn't utilizing it. This thing has like a full recline on it. It's a leather. It's pretty comfortable. This back, like if I wanted to sit up and not lean all the way back, because sometimes I like sitting straight up, but I don't necessarily want the chair and the rest of the arms to sit. You know, I can't really explain it, but this helps out tremendously. As you know, if I'm, you know, up playing my MIDI keyboard and I, you know, again, don't want to sit up, this is good, then I just pull it all the way up and it just sits all the way down. It has a nice recline on it. It has a piece that pulls out, which I hardly ever use. I barely ever use this. So I want to wrap this video up. I got more tutorial. I got a lot of content. I'm actually in the process of getting my website built, professionally rather than me, trying to do it myself. The best thing you could ever do for yourself is invest in yourself, because if you don't believe in yourself, you can't expect anyone else to. So in the future, I have a whole lot of content. I posted a video last year about Super Trap Producer that got almost about 60,000 views on YouTube. If you haven't seen it, please check it out. There are a lot of secrets and tricks that I use and I implement in my workflow and in my process that I'll be uploading. Because the thing is, like, a lot of people be afraid to show what it is that they do in order to accomplish the sound that they get. Now, granted, I'm not going to give you like my sound. Even if I gave it to you, you probably wouldn't be able to, in a sense, duplicate it. Just like if you gave me your sound, I would never be able to duplicate it, because it's just that sauce that only you have, that nobody else can duplicate. Like I said before, like, just stay true to who you are. A lot of, I know in this community we do a lot of things like tight beats and all of that, as a way of showcasing, or getting notoriety throughout the community. But even when doing that, you always want to stay true to who you are. You don't want to duplicate what someone else is doing, because if you do what they do, or you attempt to try to do what they do, because you'll never be able to do it, you pretty much become like nobody. Like, nobody wants to hear something that person did, or now you're trying to do it. Always take those elements and put your own little sauce on it. That way it becomes yours. And so hopefully in the near future, I'll be uploading more content. I'll be uploading some beat videos as I'm trying to gain a little traction. Being a husband, being a father, I don't always get the opportunity to sit back and do the things that I want to do, because I got a responsibility. I got 4 children. I have a wife. I'm involved in the church, outreach ministries and all of that. So I don't always get the opportunity to pay yourself. And this is one of the things that I wanted to do in 2018, where I wanted to sew back into myself and not be so much afraid of getting my stuff out there. Being a producer, you kind of like want to hold on to your music. You don't want nothing to be stolen. People done figured out ways to take tags off of the beats. You look at YouTube monetization. If you don't have so many views, it's not like they give you a lot of money anyway. Even though I received quite a few checks, it takes a little bit to get to get the money out of the account if you don't meet the threshold. So what I've come to the understanding is that the purpose of YouTube is, of course, if I can generate that amount of views to get paid, then yeah, I'm gonna get that bag. But ultimately, I want to utilize YouTube as a way to drive people to, my website, where you want to purchase, any sound kits, where you want to, purchase any loops, or where you want to purchase any tracks for your next, production. I don't limit myself to one type of sound. I try to be multifaceted. You never want to lock yourself in. I can go right from trap and go right back to like some East Coast rap beats, or I can go, R&B. I can go pop. So that's the one thing that you want to try to do, is you want to try to be well-rounded. And so I just want to wrap this video up, and remember, if it sounds good, it is good. Peace.